The only thing that has been crazier than the transfer portal has been the coaching carousel. Over these last few weeks, we've seen multiple big-time programs either fire, hire, or buy a coach from a different school. And in today's video, I wanted to explain all the madness, go through everything that went on, and my thoughts on the entire 2021 coaching carousel. It's pretty self-explanatory, but right before we get started, nearly 80% of you guys are not subscribed to the channel, and we're now on the road to 100K. So quickly be sure to hit that subscribe button, smash that like button for the algorithm, and turn on post notifications so you never miss when I upload. Now, let's get started and talk about the crazy 2021 coaching carousel. So the first coach I'm going to talk about is Clay Helton. Just a couple weeks into the college football season, the Trojans decided they would move in an entirely different direction and fire Helton from the program. Despite winning a Rose Bowl in 2016, Helton only had two 10-plus wins and went 46-24 in his tenure there, and many wondered if he was the guy for the job. The writing was on the wall, and they eventually fired him and had Dante Williams become the interim head coach. Everyone knew this was not going to last forever, as they would go out and make a very splashy hire. In fact, it was arguably the most splashy hire of the entire 2021 carousel. It was Lincoln Riley. Everyone remembers what they were doing when they got the notification, as Riley decided to bolt from Oklahoma and head to Southern Cal. With him going there, he'll have the opportunity to recruit the state of California, be the best team in the Pac-12, and has all the money, resources, and tradition to build the Trojans back into a national power. On October 17th, we found out that Ed Orgeron would not be retained by the LSU administration. Despite being a cultural icon in the Bayou, Ed Orgeron was kind of overrated. In his 6 years at LSU, he only won 10-plus games twice, but one of them was pretty good. They went 15-0, had the Heisman winner, the Biletnikoff winner, and won the national championship. Everything went right for LSU in 2019, but 2020 they really fell off, and in 2021 they got off to a very slow start under him, so they did allow him to coach the remainder of the season, but they eventually canned him. Who did they bring in? Well, they get the award for the shadiest hire, and that is Brian Kelly. Rumor has it, Brian Kelly had been looking for a bigger job for quite a while now, and many Notre Dame people were not surprised by this. He's been one of the better coaches in the country, but many people are not impressed with his character, and he hasn't really won the big one yet. To be honest, I'm not really a Brian Kelly fan, and many people are rooting against him and LSU now. When he offered his staff to come down to LSU, they pretty much all said no, and in my eyes, I think the Kelly experiment could end up as a disaster, but we're just gonna have to wait and see. Just 3 days later, on October 20th, we found out that Washington State would no longer be retaining their head coach in Nick Rolovich. He was hired after a pretty good tenure at Hawaii, and after a tough start in 2020, Rolovich was looking to bounce back in year 2. The team was pretty solid, but he got fired for stuff going on off the field. I'm not going to speak or even offer my opinion on this situation, as you guys all know what happened, and you can form your own opinion. At the end of the day though, Rolovich was fired, and instead, the defensive coordinator by the name of Jake Dickert was promoted to head coach. How did he do? Well, he actually did pretty well. They ended up going 3-3 in his 6 games and went 3-1 in conference play. They did lose in the Sun Bowl to Central Michigan, but Dickert saved the season, the players rallied around him, and the Washington State administration determined he was going to be the guy for the future. While I am a little bit skeptical of this, I definitely find myself rooting for him. Gary Patterson is by far the best coach in TCU football history. He helped build the Horned Frogs into a national brand and a national power for quite a while. He had some of the most memorable and best teams of the last 15 years, but then, over the last few seasons, the Horned Frogs had begun to fall off. He wasn't recruiting at that high of a level, the defense wasn't up to his normal standards, and in my eyes, they did not get a whole lot out of the quarterback position. This would ultimately lead to his downfall, and halfway through this year, they decided that they had enough and told Patterson that he was not going to be retained. Because of that, he decided he would resign himself, but we all know he would have been fired. I was not too happy with this, as I thought he deserved to be treated better than he did, as Gary Patterson is everything to this program, and they kind of just got rid of him pretty quickly. But we all know why they did that. They wanted to get their hands on Sonny Dykes. Most notably had a failed tenure at Cal before he took the SMU job. In 2019, the Mustangs had a breakout season, and he helped salvage one of the worst programs of the last few years. Led by quarterbacks such as Tanner Mordecai and Shane Buechele, the Mustangs have gotten better, they were recruiting pretty well, and they've been winning games. That's why TCU went out and hired him, because of his Texas connections, his fun offense to watch, and his ability to win. While I like the hire, I don't like how they treated Patterson. The Texas Tech coaching situation was probably the least talked about of all Power 5 schools. Matt Wells was hired after a great tenure at Utah State, but he could not bring his winning ways to Lubbock. In his 3 years with the Red Raiders, he had a 13-17 record and failed to make a bowl game. In 2021, the team started out 5-3, and he surely would have gotten them to a bowl game, but they did not like the direction that the program was headed in, so they decided to fire him after only 8 games. Who did they bring in instead? Well, they went out and hired Joey McGuire. He is a Texas high school football legend. Players apparently love him, and back after the 2019 season, he was supposedly going to get the Baylor head coaching job before they decided on Dave Aranda instead. While he has no head coaching experience, McGuire is the kind of guy who's going to change the culture at Texas Tech, and with him bringing in Western Kentucky offensive coordinator Zach Kittley, I could see Texas Tech being a dark horse team, and I do like the hire, but I also have some skepticism. The Jimmy Lake experiment was a disaster. After Chris Patterson retired, the Huskies decided to promote from within, and they hired their defensive coordinator, Jimmy Lake, to be the next head coach. In 2020, the team ended up going 3-1, but that did not really show what was actually going on. They started out ranked in the top 25, but lost to an FCS opponent in week 1, and then from there, he made a couple of mistakes, had an altercation with a player, and was losing out on recruits, so after going 7-6 in a year and a half on the job, they decided to move away from him and fire him. They brought back another guy who has West Coast ties in Kalen DeBoer. DeBoer got his first big break in 2019 as the offensive coordinator for Indiana, and he did such a good job that he was hired to be the head coach at Fresno State. In 2 years with the Bulldogs, he went 12-6, including a 9-3 record in 2021. He did wonders with quarterback Jake Haener, and with his ability to coach an offense, I think he can get Washington football back on the map, and I really like this hire. One of the biggest moves of the 2021 coaching carousel was Florida moving on from Dan Mullen. That came after their overtime loss to Missouri, and going back in time, Mullen got his big break at Florida. He was an Urban Meyer disciple and helped coach up Tim Tebow. Because of that, in 2009, he was named the head coach at Mississippi State, and he brought the team to 8 bowls in 9 years in Starkville, including their glorious season with Dak Prescott as the quarterback. He went 69-46 there, and then decided to return home to Florida. In 2018, the team went 10-3, and then in 2019, they went 11-2. But 2020 was supposed to be the year where he had everything going for him. He had superb offensive talent, but the defense wasn't there, and they blew games they should not have lost, so they ended up finishing with an 8-4 record. 2021 was going to be a rebuild, but it went a lot worse than expected, so after the team started out 5-6, he was gone. In total, Mullen went 103-61 in his SEC head coaching career, and I wonder what the next step will be for him. Who did they hire? Well, they hired my favorite coach of the 2021 season in Billy Napier. Napier coached at both Clemson and Alabama before he got the head coaching job at Louisiana. Since he's been with the Raging Cajuns, he's done nothing but win. In 4 years, the team has had 3 10-plus win seasons, and they've won the Sun Belt Western Division 4 times. He went 40-12 in 4 seasons, and Napier was the kind of guy who turned down Power 5 jobs to find the right opportunity. While there will be a lot of pressure at Florida, I think Napier is going to deliver and be the best hire of the entire 2021 carousel. A lot of people remember Steve Adazio at both Florida and Boston College. He was an Urban Meyer disciple just like Mullen was, and in 2013, he took a job with Boston College. When he was there, the Eagles actually went to 6 bowls in 7 years, but he never won more than 7 games, and he was the definition of average. He literally went 4-44 in his tenure there. After being fired, they ended up hiring Jeff Hafley, and Adazio would be hired to be the head coach at Colorado State. Instead, he went 4-12 and was fired. Who did they hire? A guy by the name of Jay Norvell. At first, it looked like a downgrade because Norvell was doing a great job at Nevada. In 5 years there, he went 33-26, including 4 straight bowl games. Unfortunately, Nevada could not afford to pay him, and the facilities were better for the Rams, so Norvell decided to jump ship, and I absolutely loved this hire, and Norvell could be a Power 5 guy in a couple of years. After Frank Beamer retired, many thought that Justin Fuente could continue his culture and his ways of winning for Virginia Tech. Going back a little bit, Fuente was known for coaching up Andy Dalton at TCU, and then he took the head coaching job at Memphis. While he was there, he went 26-23 in 3 seasons, including a 10-win season, which was not common for the Tigers program at the time. Because of that, he took the Virginia Tech job, where in his first year, he won ACC Coach of the Year, won a bowl game, and went 10-4. In 2017, the team ended up being ranked and won 9 games, but after that, it was a downward spiral. They went 6-7 8-5, 5-6, and then 5-5 before they decided it was time to move on. He just didn't bring the energy and the culture that the Hokies wanted, so they decided to move in a new direction and hire a guy with a high ceiling. Who was it? It was Brent Pry. He actually started out as a Virginia Tech graduate assistant, so that is where the connection comes from. In the last few years, he's spent time at both Vanderbilt and Penn State, and was most recently the defensive coordinator from 2016 to 2021. I'll admit, I don't know a whole lot about him, but Penn State has had a good defense, he's apparently very well liked, and he can recruit, so maybe the hire will do well. But for now, I'm skeptical. Since we're talking about the state of Virginia, I thought we'd do Bronco Mendenhall next. He started out his playing and coaching career at Oregon State before he eventually became the head coach at BYU in 2005. In that time, BYU saw a lot of success. They had 5 10-plus win seasons, and he went 99-43 there. Because of that, he decided to make the next jump up to the ACC, where he was hired to be the head coach at Virginia. While he went 2-10 in year 1, he steadily improved the Virginia program. They made a bowl in 4 of the next 5 years before he suddenly decided to retire. He went 36-38 in his 6 years there, and will go down as one of the better coaches in school history, and a well-respected guy. So, what direction did they move in? Well, they pulled the Virginia Tech route and hired someone with a high ceiling. They went out and got Tony Elliott. He doesn't have any ties to the Virginia program, but Elliott played at Clemson and became a coach under Dabo Swinney. He's been known as a terrific recruiter, a culture guy, and someone who has helped contribute to winning ways. So I'm actually pretty excited for the Elliott hire, and I think he does have a lot of potential there. But one thing I am a little bit worried about is he did not have the best 2021 campaign for Clemson. Either way, I am in favor and in support of Tony Elliott. Moving across the country to Texas, let's talk about SMU. As we know, Patterson retired, so Sonny Dykes decided to leave. He had helped SMU recruit better, win games, and had really begun to save the program. In his 5 years with the Mustangs, he went 30-18 and brought them to 4 bowl games. One assistant that he used to have on the staff was a guy by the name of Rhett Lashley. Lashley left the offensive coordinator job at Miami and did good enough there that he was now the main target for SMU's new coaching search. He was a quarterback at Arkansas back in the day, and with his ability to run a great offense, recruit, and relate to the players, I think Lashley is going to be a great coach for SMU, and hopefully they will get a nod to go to the Big 12. Like Gary Patterson is to TCU, David Cutcliffe is to Duke. He really began to blow up as a coach when he was at Tennessee, and instead of the Volunteers going with him, and the Volunteers decided to move in a different direction, and Cutcliffe took the head coaching job at Ole Miss. While there, he went 44-29 before he went back to Tennessee. In 2008, he took the head coaching job at Duke, and he spent a lot of time there. The most notable campaign came in 2013, as they went 10-4, won the ACC Coastal Division, and eventually went to the Chick-fil-A Bowl. That was the only year Duke football was ever ranked, but he did end up bringing them to 6 total bowl games. He went 77-97 there, which is pretty dang good for Duke standards. With him deciding to retire, they would need to make an outside-of-the-box kind of hire, and they got Mike Elko. Elko has been someone who's been talked about for a couple years now, as he spent time at both Notre Dame and at Wake Forest under Dave Clawson. Most recently, as the defensive coordinator for Texas A&M, and he was linked to a couple of jobs last year, but he waited it out and will now be the head coach at Duke. He has a long road ahead of him, but he can recruit. He will bring a smash-mouth style of football to the program, and he'll have a long leash and low standards to work with, so hopefully Elko succeeds, and I'm going to keep a close eye on him. Before we get into the last 4 hires, quickly be sure to take a quick moment to subscribe, hit that like button, and let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Mario Cristobal played at Miami back in the day, and after winning a title with the Hurricanes, he moved directly into coaching. In 2007, he was named the head coach at Florida International and brought the team to 2 bowl games. He went 27-47 in 6 years there, but he brought the program to heights they had not seen before, and when he got fired, people were outraged. From there, he would take a step down as he went to Alabama, became the recruiter of the year, and eventually took an offensive line job for the Oregon Ducks. After Willie Taggart bolted for Florida State, Cristobal became the head coach in 2018. In 2018, the team went 9-4, but their best year under Cristobal would come in 2019. Led by Justin Herbert, the Ducks went 12-2, lost 2 close games, and eventually won the Rose Bowl. I honestly think they could have been a playoff team, but they blew it to both Auburn and Arizona State and missed out. In 2020, they went 4-3 with a loss to Iowa State in the Fiesta Bowl, and then in 2021, they had real playoff potential after they beat Ohio State, but they blew it to Stanford and Utah twice, and they went 10-3. In 4 years with the Ducks, he went 35-13, and eventually he would jump ship from Miami. So who did Oregon look to hire as their next head coach? Well, they went out and got Dan Lanning. Lanning got a job under Todd Graham at Pittsburgh back in 2011 and would follow him to Arizona State. He became a recruiting coordinator while he was there, and then in 2015, he became a graduate assistant at Alabama. Apparently, he was one of the hardest working coaches on the staff. After some time at Memphis, he accepted a job at Georgia to be the linebackers coach. In 2019, he was named the defensive coordinator after Mel Tucker left, and in 3 years, he's done a magnificent job with this Georgia defense. This year's defense is one of the best ever, and despite them getting beat by Bama in the SEC championship game, they are an elite unit, and he is a young guy who can recruit, build a defense, and hopefully get the right staff around to succeed at Oregon. While many are skeptical, I do like the Dan Lanning hire, as it has major boom or bust potential, and I'm very curious to see how this all plays out. Oklahoma has become a quarterback power under head coach Lincoln Riley. He was a quarterback for Texas Tech in 2002 and eventually went straight into coaching. He would get his first big break at Eastern Carolina, at East Carolina, where he definitely made a name for himself and was so good that he took a job with Oklahoma. He ended up winning the Broyles Award in 2015, and the rumor was that Stoops left so no one else would take Riley. He was named the permanent head coach in 2017, and he immediately had talent to work with. Him and Baker Mayfield ended up going to the Rose Bowl, where they lost a close game to Georgia in overtime and went 12-2. In 2018, with Kyler Murray, the team went 12-2 as well, and then lost in the college football playoff. 2019 was more of the same, as this time they had Jalen Hurts, but they lost in the Peach Bowl to Joe Burrow and LSU. Would he be able to do it with 4 straight quarterbacks? No. Spencer Rattler struggled early on in 2020, and they ended up eliminating themselves from the college football playoff. They did their best to get back on track though, as they dominated the second half of the season, won the Cotton Bowl, and finished ranked number 6 in the country. 2021 was expected to be another year of Rattler, but after he struggled, he was benched in favor of Caleb Williams. The true freshman emerged as a young superstar, but they ended up losing 2 games and had to settle for the Alamo Bowl. But before then, Riley decided to jump ship and go to USC. He went 55-10 there, so the new guy they hired will have tough shoes to fill. Who was it? It was Brent Venables. He was famously a player on those early Kansas State teams under Bill Snyder and immediately went into coaching. In 2004, he was the defensive coordinator for the Sooners, and he was there for quite a while and did a tremendous job. He won the Broyles Award multiple times and eventually jumped ship to Clemson in 2012. He has been seen as the top assistant coach in the country for quite a while now, has won a lot of games at Clemson, is a fan favorite, and can recruit. He's headed back to Oklahoma, where he loves the place, will have a lot of resources, and the experience and ability to win, so that's why I like this hire, and I think Venables will do a great job there. Notre Dame is one of the top brands in college football, and back in 2010, they went out and hired one of the top up-and-coming coaches in the country in Brian Kelly. He has seen a lot of success with the Fighting Irish. He's been to a bowl game all but 1 year. They've made it to multiple college football playoff appearances and even a national title game appearance. In his Notre Dame tenure, he went 92-39, but not everyone was too happy with him. People didn't like his personality, some thought he was shady, and didn't represent the values that the Notre Dame football program wanted. Well, they got what they wanted as he decided to bolt for LSU in Spurn, South Bend. Some are happy and some are sad. Personally, I was happy because they got Marcus Freeman. He's one of the first head coaches to have a recruiting profile, as he played at Ohio State. He eventually blew up while he was at Purdue and took the defensive coordinator job for Cincinnati. After the 2020 season, he was one of the top up-and-coming coordinators in the country and decided to take the defensive coordinator job at Notre Dame. In his 1 year so far, the players have loved him, the Irish defense was great, and he was seen as sort of the head coach in waiting. That's why when Kelly left, he was named the permanent head coach, and I'm really excited. He's already recruiting really well, he's a really good guy, will bring a good culture, and I think he can win some games there. Only time will tell though. Finally, let's talk about the Miami Hurricanes. The son of the mayor of Miami, Manny Diaz, went on to go to Florida State but did not play football. He started as a graduate assistant for the Seminoles and eventually started to blow up while he was at Middle Tennessee. In 2010, Dan Mullen hired him to be his defensive coordinator, and he also spent some time at Texas. He really made a name for himself in 2016 as the Miami defensive coordinator, so when Mark Richt decided to be done, he was named the next head coach. He also did in fact take the head coaching job at Temple, but Miami offered it to him a few weeks later, and he decided to turn his back on that program. In 2019, the Hurricanes went 6-7, but many thought the potential was there. 2020, they started out well, but they ended up fading towards the end of the year, where they lost in the Cheez-It Bowl to Oklahoma State and went 9-3. In 2021, expectations were through the roof, but the Hurricanes lost to Bama and also finished with a 7-5 record. In 3 years, the Canes went 21-15, which isn't bad for a Power 5 program, but to Miami standards, that was not good enough, and he was fired. They ended up bringing Mario Cristobal in, who, as I said earlier, played at Miami back in the day, had done well at Oregon, and will now look to turn around the Miami program. He's going to have plenty of money and resources. He's already won games where he's been. He's a good recruiter, and he loves the area, so I do think Cristobal will do well, but I wonder if they will give him enough time. So yeah, in today's video, we talked about the 2021 coaching carousel, everything you need to know about all the new guys, what I think of each hire, and everything that went on. Let me know what you guys think though. If your school hired a new coach, give me your thoughts on the hire down below. Which hires do you think were good and bad? What coaches will fail? And what was your favorite moment of all this craziness? Be sure to let me know down in the comment section below. Subscribe if you are new to the channel. Smash that like button for the algorithm. And check out all my other videos on the end screen. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.